Men of Reddit, what's the biggest I'm a princess red flag? Stepson had a girlfriend who was pissed because he didn't buy her a 1-week anniversary gift. Run dude, run. Edit, I have too many replies to answer individually, so here goes. They are pretty young. Not 12 though. She didn't get him anything. Girl was nuts. Would call him over and over. If he didn't answer, she would text him 8 million times. Luckily, he has since moved with me. New school and different city altogether. Which is good because they dated like 4 times over the year. She would break up with him and then want him back. Had a girl recently say this: I'm a super nice and loyal girl. Unless you piss me off, then I become a psycho itch. I think that one is a pretty big red flag. Well, this is awkward. Don't worry, they'll tell you they're a princess. Being able to feel a pee through 99 mattresses is always a giveaway in my experience. Really liked this girl in high school. She literally took my breath away. I thought she was so beautiful. We had a good rapport in class and I thought I had a decent chance, so I worked my ass off for 2 months straight doing odd jobs in order to save up enough money to take her on a proper date. My mom was a single parent barely making ends meet and I was 15 at the time, so I couldn't get a real job. Once I had saved up enough money, my plan was to take her to see this movie she said she'd been wanting to see. Some horrible thing that had Sandra Bullock and Bill, not Paxton, Pullman in it. While you were sleeping maybe? I don't really remember. It was a long time ago. Anyway, after the movie I was going to take her to this local restaurant called Gilbert's. It was the nicest place in town. Tiffany lamps over all the tables. Nude paintings on the wall. No way you were getting out of there with less than a $50 bill. And this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. Date night rolls around and I go to pick her up and 2 of her female friends are coming along for the ride. I had not been apprised of this. But whatever. I was pretty easygoing back then, so I rolled with it. We get to the movie theater and they don't have any money, so I am paying for all 4 of us. The 2 tag-alongs both wanted popcorn and drinks and I must have gotten a look on my face because the girl of my dreams gave me a semi-playful rebuke like, "What? They can't have popcorn? Come on." So, I cave, wincing as every dollar leaves my quickly dwindling date fund. I had enough extra that we would both still be able to go eat at Gilbert's as long as I was careful with my purchase. I had to forego popcorn and a drink of my own, but it wasn't a big deal. Movie ends and I explain that dinner really needs to be just the 2 of us, and she basically tells me that's not happening. As a result, we end up having to go to this greasy spoon little dive in a strip mall. At this point, the comments about what a cheap date I am start to get dropped in conversation in front of me. I have to sit there and listen to how horrible the food is, and how if I had really wanted to impress her I should have taken her somewhere nice. All 3 of them are sitting on one side of the booth and I am sitting on the other, so it's like a ducking tribunal of shame. I'm trying to just laugh it off, but I could feel my face flushing. I don't say anything about the unexpected extra people I'm paying for. I just smile and say, maybe next time. Then they start talking about how bad the movie was, and it really was awful, and suddenly the idea to go see that particular movie has become mine even though she'd been wanted to see it for weeks. And now I'm listening to how wrong everything is at the restaurant we're eating at. The food is itty, the silverware is dirty, the floor hasn't been swept in days, it smells like onions and old people, etc, etc. I gotta be honest. By the end of the night I was struggling to hold back tears. I was ashamed, but even more I was angry. This girl had no idea how hard I had worked in order to treat her to a nice date, and how her thoughtlessness had made that date impossible to realize. I realized how vapid and shallow she was. She and both of her friends. Zero consideration for how hard I had worked, and even less for how I had planned the evening to go. But she taught me a valuable lesson that night. People who complain about things given to them for free are literally the worst people in existence. And as far as I am concerned, they can all go die in a ducking fire. Same for people who show no consideration for the feelings and expectations of others. Both are huge red flags. Basically comes down to self-absorbed inconsideration. The hallmarks of a princess if ever I saw one. Edit. Holy crap. Figured this would be one of my usual buried comments and woke up to a dead inbox and Reddit gold. Thank you. 5 kind strangers. To the folks defending while you were sleeping, I apologize. If it's any consolation, that wasn't the movie we saw. As I said, it was a long time ago and memory ain't what it used to be. We actually saw Staying Together. Mea culpa. I was confusing a freshman year high school date with a freshman year college date. For those wondering about the fallout from the date, we never had a second one. However, much later, at our 10-year reunion, she cornered me while drunk and told me that I was the nicest guy she ever dated and the reason she ultimately stopped dating assholes. So, even though it did not seem like it at the time, she did appreciate the effort I went through and what I tried to do. Small consolation maybe, but it was nice of her to say, "Thank you all for the consolations, kind words, jokes, anecdotes, insults, and general bonhomie. It's appreciated." I'm a woman, but I've noticed women who are obsessed with Marilyn Monroe usually are terrible in a variety of ways. I'm high maintenance, enjoy the finer things in life. If her dad is acting really interested in your fiefs. I'm not like the rest, I hate drama. Always classy, never trashy, and a little bit sassy. Horses. You'll always be third in line with a horse girl, behind her animals, and her daddy's money. Punishing you, silent treatment, etc. in public, especially in front of friends. When I beat the it out of a bunch of turtles, mushrooms, ghost, and a dinosaur, just to find out from your friend that your itch ass is in another castle, edit, a gold coin, and I didn't even have to break a box. Hot damn. Bet you can't handle me, itch. Dating you shouldn't be a challenge. Duck out of here with that it. Edit. Holy it up votes. After going out a few times, woman, man, I've gone so overboard spending lately. Hey, can you take care of my credit card debt for me? Silent. Looking at her oddly, trying to decide if this is a bad joke. Woman, I mean, you could be a sugar daddy, couldn't you? Me, no, I'm not that old yet nor wealthy. And I wouldn't be even if I were. Woman, you don't want to be my sugar daddy? That was the end of that relationship. Girls are too much drama. That's why I only have guy friends. Any girl who blames their attitude actions on their zodiac sign. IDC if you're a Taurus Lexi, you're being a ducking itch. Edit. Probably should have clarified that I'm a woman. When they have a college degree and think Africa is a single country. Usually having princess written across the rear of their pink sweatpants is a dead giveaway. Subsequent to the thought that OP should have used a serious tag based on some of these responses, my experience has told me the following about this particular type of woman. She is usually not a woman. She is a girl pretending to be a woman. She might even look like a woman, but underneath the Barbie layers, her mind is in her parents' house being waited on and defended by them, and only the parts of the upbringing that support her agenda at the time. This leads to a noticeably incongruous basis of perspective whose only common denominator is the expectation of getting her way. With that in mind, she probably did not get everything she wanted growing up, but she will try to give the impression that she did, simply as a warning shot, because she is likely to assume that you will cave without having to expend the effort of convincing you to bend to her will. If she is not successful, she will then employ the tactics against you that worked for her previously. Further failure will inevitably devolve into anger and name calling in order to make you feel like she did not get what she wanted because you were not adequate enough to provide it. There is a distinct lack of an ability. Note that I did not say willingness for her to acknowledge her own faults, even when an outcome bears them impossibly clear. This is not limited to a princess, but oftentimes those of us that are in denial about these types of things are fully aware of the personal fault and are attempting to save face. A princess usually feels very justified about her convictions because the groundwork was laid throughout her life and the perspective cemented as a personal truth rather than an acute defense mechanism against a momentary lapse of character or judgment. She will use looks, charisma and sex to coerce, and when this does not result with her end goal fulfilled, she will attempt to manipulate you in order to make you feel like she is the giver and gets nothing in return. This is to make you feel guilty and ultimately bend to her will as a penance. When this does not work, the focus turns to you, negatively, in order for you to feel like less of a person and that she, as a result, holds the moral high ground. She will then attempt to leverage this position to achieve her goals. During this time, she will always use the people that give her what she wants as a comparison to what you are not doing. This is to make you feel as though you are the one failing. If you brave all of the above and she has still not gotten what she wants, she will flip it back around and be amicable. You will get 6, the best you have ever had. She will weasel her way into your good side in order to use it against you to finally achieve her goal. If you somehow survived the first attempt, you are tired from all of the fighting and it is a welcome embrace. You say to yourself that it is just not worth it, and that you should pick your battles. And you give in during that brief moment of respite, and she finally gets what she wants. I want to reiterate that this is only my experience. It is anecdotal and not intended to be as large of a generalization as it must seem. I know that people are different and all across the spectrum, but manipulation is always a common denominator with this type of thing, and it is just what I have noticed over the years. And yes, she will always be in another castle, one you will never be able to afford. Edit, comma, edit 2. I wanted to address something I am seeing in the comments to this post. You are correct in your statement that this is describing a personality disorder, whether clinical or otherwise. Princess is being used in context with the thread, but I do not believe the two concepts are mutually exclusive. They simply describe the same behavior, and I also agree that this is not restricted to women. Also, thank you for the gold, colon. Birds landing on their fingers as they sing. Edit, thank you for the gold. Constantly taking out her cell phone while talking to you, interrupting you, doesn't stop talking about herself. Edit, I just wanted to use this platform to greet my friends Chris and Felix. See you Saturday, haha. Referring to herself as a princess, or, I can really be a diva, but, cutesy smirk, gotta love me. No I do not. The pointy hat with the veil thing on top. Was seeing a girl for a few months and I gave her something on Valentine's Day that read "Be my Valentine" or some other variation. She responded with "That's sweet, but my daddy will always be my Valentine." She was in her second semester of law school and in her mid-20s, so that whole "my daddy is the best man in the world" thing was off-putting. She ended up being high maintenance and unpredictable. Bad combination. Edit, whoa. My highest upvoted comment was about some daddy-obsessed chick I dated in the army. I'll let Jenna know that everybody else thinks it's weird too. I should mention that none of that unhealthy daddy attachment made its way into the bedroom. Thankfully there was only one daddy in her life. Edit 2. I forgot to mention that she got married about a year ago and she did her entire album for her wedding shoot with her and her daddy. I have expensive taste. Nah, you have no taste. You only know what numbers are. Lack of awareness of the plight of the proletariat and the subjugation to archaic feudal hierarchies. Talks about how much she hates the $200 marble iPhone case her mom bought her. Constantly calls her brand new MacBook Pro a pose just because she doesn't know how to use it. Then proceeds to throw it around and drop it all the time. Breaks the $200 marble iPhone case. Excited when mom buys her a new one. Yeah, I didn't stick around. Refusing to do something on the grounds that she's too good for it. Not taking out the garbage. Cleaning a bathtub. Whatever. Nobody is too good to be humble and helpful. Anyone who thinks they are is an asshole. One of my best friends had a girlfriend once say she likes to have nicer things than other people, but doesn't want to work, so he needs to have a good job. Same girl also said she should come before family and God. I'm not religious, but that's still pretty nuts for people who are. Which they were. I was dating this girl that absolutely loved KFC's fried chicken. While she was in the shower one time, I decided to run to KFC and surprise her with a quick little meal. I did not get mashed potatoes. Never really cared for their take on mashed taters. She threw me out upon finding out there were no mashed potatoes. Dart through. Me. Out. OHH, this doesn't completely go with the question, but it fits well enough. Senior year of high school prom was coming up and this one girl who I kinda knew asked my friend if he would go to prom with her. He said yes, but a few days later changed his mind, which was a 100% D thing to do. She however really wanted someone to go to prom and the guy that turned her down. along with some of my other mutual friends, told me I should go with her, which sounded like a good idea because she was kinda cute and I was going alone at that point. A week or so later, a few of us were hanging out at Nifty 50s and they gave us those little paper hat things. And I wrote prom on mine and she said yes. Sick. On the way home from asking her out, she said to me, "So how does it feel knowing that you're going to prom with the birthday princess?" First red flag. Upon further conversation, she told me that prom was going to be on her 18th birthday and because of that she was definitely going to get prom queen, which would most likely be the absolute last reason I'd want to get prom queen in her situation. Fast forward a week or so. I had just gotten home from school and I got a text from her asking if I wanted to go with her to pick out her shoes for prom. I should tell you all that halfway through my senior year I moved to another school district 40-ish minutes away and my date lived like 15 minutes on the other side of the school. Not to mention that the car I drove was a gas guzzling machine and it was like $10 round trip when prices were high. I tried telling her that I had just gotten home and that it would take me an hour or so to get there and I had work that needed to get done. I also had zero interest in going, but that's beside the point. Reasonable excuse, I thought. She lost it. She was saying all this stuff about how messed up it is that I wouldn't do this for her and other random stuff that totally didn't make sense. She then said, "I guess I'll just ask Anthony to go with me." Anthony was a close friend of mine who had off and on feelings for my date and they were close friends. There was a reason he didn't ask her, but I can't remember. I told her to go ahead because that didn't bother me. I wasn't trying to date the girl. Hell, I wasn't even trying to get laid. I purely asked her out because she was dying to go to prom with someone and I was single. Flash forward to day of prom. A few days before prom she asked if she should get a tan. I told her I really don't like that look, especially not awful spray tan. The day of prom she showed up looking like a carrot and her hands looked like that of a black person. Her tan was bad, uneven, blotchy, you name it. She was proud of it though, so who was I to tell her otherwise? She said, "How does the birthday princess look?" And I told her she looked beautiful. She also told me at that time where to meet her and her friends who I was now taking, which was news to me, but I bit my tongue and went along with it. I get to her friend's house 5 minutes early, and she is 45 minutes late. When she finally arrived she was wearing a tiara that read birthday princess. Her and her friend probably took 100 pics together, and me and the other dude, who I hated but by the end of the night found out he was actually pretty cool, just sat to the side waiting for our turn for the pics. I think we took 3 together. Now when I tell people this part of the story they get confused because apparently my school was weird. We had this thing called pre-prom where basically we'd go up on stage in the auditorium, walk out with our date, get pictures taken, and get judged for prom king queen. People do little cute things on stage in order to gain approval and to get more votes. Some funny, some cute, some just walked out like normal. What she made us do is she walks on stage first looking around. I creep up behind her with a huge happy birthday balloon, so everyone knew it was her birthday. Tap her on the shoulder, and when she'd turn around, I'd be on one knee and put a sash on her that read birthday princess. It was cheesy. It was uncomfortable. I hated it. Prom time. So we get to prom and take our seat. We eat a little and then people start going on the dance floor. I ask if she wants to go dance, but she says she's not feeling well and I should just go. I obliged and danced for a good 20 minutes, and when I look at her sitting down she looks very upset. I notice her staring at the boy who turned her down dancing with another girl, and I felt bad for her. I went up to her and told her to come to the floor and have fun with everyone, and she again says she's fine. A half hour passes before I walk up to her. She looks at me dead in the eyes, and before I can say anything she says snaps and says, "You really need to learn when to leave me hell alone." Well then, I leave her at the table and go hang out with friends. People keep coming up to me asking where my date is, and then someone asks why is she crying. The questions then turn to what did you do to her? It got to the point where even teachers and school faculty pulled me over asking if I did anything to upset her. An hour passes and it's time to announce prom king and queen. I sat down again and she calmed down by this point. She was telling the whole table how she has to be prom queen because it's her birthday and she's the birthday princess. I told her not to get her hopes up just in case it didn't happen, and she didn't like that at all. She wasn't prom queen. She wasn't even nominated. She ran out of the room crying. After it was announced and people started dancing again, I went up to the aforementioned Anthony and told him if he wanted to dance with my date he could. He told me he would feel bad and didn't want to do that to me, but I assured him it would be fine. I look over a little later, noticed them slow dancing, and that was the happiest I had been all night. I then went off to dance with some of the other girls who didn't have dates, and for once prom was fun. Too bad it ended 20 minutes later. As everyone is gathering their things and clearing out, my date finds me again and says, "I feel like you're upset with me." I didn't say a word. She asked if we could go to Applebee's because it's her birthday and they love singing to her every year. First I told her she wasn't special. They do that to everyone. That was a real slap in the face to her. Secondly, I told her by the time we got there we would only have 15 minutes before it closed. She told me that as long as we order before it's closed we can stay there. As someone who was working as a dishwasher at the time, I knew how much of a D-move that was. She said please, but I'm the birthday princess. I refused. The drive home was one of the most uncomfortable car rides of my life. Every time we passed a restaurant, do you think Denny's would sing to me? Do you think the diner would sing to me? Do you think McDonald's would sing to me? I have never met someone, yet alone an 18-year-old who was so obsessed with their birthday. I pulled up to her other friend's house. A bunch of people were going here after prom to hang out, and we all got out. As I was walking up the driveway I got the thought, what the hell am I doing? I walked back to my car and drove away. TLDR. While she wanted to feel like a princess, I felt like 2017 Prince. I'm glad my source of trauma can be of enjoyment to some people. I just remembered something else that happened pertaining this event. The day of prom at school, I asked my friend if he wanted to hang out after prom. He told me he wasn't going because he was going to ask out the girl I was going with and didn't want to go alone. Fast forward a few months. I hadn't spoken to the girl I want to prom with since I drove away. Literally not a word. It was the day of graduation and my one friend was having a graduation party. I went and lo and behold my date was there. A group of us started talking and out of nowhere she said, "You know, the way you asked me to prom was cool, but the way that the kid who didn't end up going to prom because I was going with her would have asked me would have been so much better." His plan was going to be to get the show White at Disney to ask this girl to prom because she was obsessed with show White. Like she cried on senior trip at Disney when she saw her because she was so overwhelmed with excitement. Maybe the first red flag should have been that she was obsessed with princesses. Edit 2. Someone suggested that there be a subreddit for these type of prom horror stories, so I decided to go ahead and make one. Feel free to check out our prom gone wrong and submit your awful times. Or don't. That's cool too. Let me call my daddy. My daddy will fix my car. My daddy paid my speeding ticket, etc. My wife's maiden name was King. She maintains she is a princess by definition. Can't argue with her logic. Being surrounded by talking animals. Way more focused on self than others, with a general disconnect to reality or what's going on in the immediate area around them. Always late herself, while constantly being impatient with others not working on her time frame. Edit to add, a lot of people seem to think I'm referring to a few minutes here or there. This is more in the time frame of an hour. 15 minutes is understandable. Life happens. When you hit 30 minutes, that's a significant portion of the day. If you're getting close to 30 minutes and realize you are still nowhere near being ready, it's okay. Just let the relevant parties know that stuff happened, so you need another 30 minutes to get things done and they can go do something else while you finally finish. That is considerate. Considerate is the opposite of, well, the most important thing in the world to everyone is me being what I consider ready. So I'm going to make sure that is done without letting either my date or the event know that I'm going to be ready at 8. When we had plans to be somewhere at 7. I'm sure they won't mind sitting awkwardly in the meantime. Basically that's an immediate indication to me of either some kind of test that you aren't willing to discuss and you think has to be pulled behind my back, or of utter disregard for anyone else but yourself. Either way, I'm out. When she complains about her parents on the first date, going on about her lines of succession and how they're always forcing her to marry a prince from another fiefdom. Throwing a tantrum and being pissed at your boyfriend for not proposing in the right way. Knew a girl who did this exact thing. We have a tradition at our university where you propose under this huge tree on campus. Only some people do it, not everyone. She literally threw a tantrum even though he planned a sweet proposal that would have pleased any other girl just because he didn't do it under the ducking tree. Edit. She was a graduate student and he was working. Edit. Gig M. As a female, I'm just going to throw this out there. Tweetit has tattoo and oughting Kerbal Karmats. Run. When she starts talking about seizing the means of production,